Hello guys, welcome to another video on the channel. Now this isn't any normal video that I record on my channel, but I thought I'd switch it up a little bit. Today I'm going to run through the exact equipment I use to record my videos that look like this. And I'm going to run through the exact settings that I use on my GoPro. So if you like the look of my footage I upload to my YouTube, my TikTok, etc., then from my GoPro to yours, you can copy the exact settings I use and record footage like mine from day one. Now obviously I'm going to run through my GoPro settings as mentioned, but these are transferable to DJI Osmos. It might just be laid out a little bit differently. So I'm going to run through the exact equipment I use, from ND filters, the mic, obviously the camera itself, tips and tricks to get the best content possible when you're out motovlogging, and also run through the exact settings as mentioned that I have on my GoPro. So let's get straight into it. Okay then, so to begin with, I'm going to just go through quickly 3 things that you most definitely need if you want to be recording some motovlogging videos. And I'll go into a little bit more detail into the specifics later on in this video. So the first thing you'll need, that's if you've got a GoPro, is what's called a media mod. Now, a media mod is simply a case for your GoPro, and it allows you to plug in a mic basically, because GoPro, unfortunately, there's no way to connect a wireless mic to it, so you have to physically plug one into the GoPro. And as you know, the GoPro itself doesn't have any ports to be able to do that. That's why you need a GoPro media mod, which essentially plugs around the GoPro itself, and then you wire a mic into your helmet and that plugs in to the GoPro media mod. To go with your GoPro as well, you'll need what are called ND filters. Like mentioned, I'll go into a little bit more specifically what I mean by ND filters in this video, but essentially they are sunglasses for your GoPro based on the settings that I use and what you will hopefully be using after this video. You can get a 3-pack off of GoPro's website, I believe, and they're all you need. The last thing is a mic. Obviously, how else are you going to speak to your camera without a microphone? And this is why we get the media mod as well. The mic I use is the Rode Lavalier Go. Around £50 off Amazon. Jesus, that we're spitting out a bit of crap. Around £50 off Amazon, I'm pretty sure. I'll link all my equipment in the description anyway. Now to get into the settings of the GoPro then, the juicy stuff. First and foremost, the view. I record in super view on my GoPro, and that is more than enough for what I need. I think the newer GoPros and the one I record on does have it. It's called hyper view, I'm pretty sure, and that is an extremely wide view of the camera lens, but it gets a little distorted on the edges, so super view is more than enough for what you need. As you can tell, I'm recording in super view right now, and you can see a hell of a lot what's going on. So the next thing is the resolution and the frame rate. Now I record in 4K 30 frames per second. You might be thinking, well, GoPro, doesn't it film in 5.3K? It does, but with that come huge file sizes, and also you can't even upload 5K to any social media platform or YouTube, so it's a bit of a waste really. All it'll do is compress the file to 4K anyway, and sometimes social media platforms can over compress the footage as well, so you'll spend all your time making this lovely footage in 5.3K, you'll upload it to YouTube, and then bosh, it'll be blurry as heck because it's over compressed your footage. And the frame rate, 30 frames per second, this is where ND filters will come into play, but again, 30 frames per second is more than enough for what you need. It helps in editing, it's very flexible. But the reason I mention ND filters is because when we're talking about frame rate, we want to be talking about shutter speed as well, and shutter speed, you want to have that 1 over double whatever your frame rate is. So for example, I record in 4K 30 frames per second, so I want my shutter speed at 1 over 60. But with that, because we're locking the shutter speed at 1 over 60, if we go to a really bright area with no ND filter on, the footage will look hella exposed, which I will try to give you an example in a moment. I'll try take this ND filter off and you'll know what I mean. So let's see if I can twist this off. So there you go. So as you'll be able to see now, the exposure is crazy and it's hella bright. But if I put this filter back on, like so, the footage goes back to normal, and that's because of the ND filter. Now with ND filters, in the pack of 3 that you can get from GoPro, you have ND8, 16 and 32. 16 is best really for everyday riding. ND8 doesn't really define the clouds or the sun on a really sunny day. It's sort of too light, whereas ND16 is the happy medium, because if you go in a bit of a dark area or it's a bit cloudy like it is now, you'll still get some good looking footage. And ND32 is if, like, I don't know if you're in Australia or the USA, it's constantly not a cloud in the sky, beaming sun 24 hours a day.
ND32 probably is your best friend, but ND16, everyday riding, that's the one you want to be putting on your GoPro. So the next setting will be stabilisation. Now, funnily enough, this is my first video recording with no stabilisation, because I'm going to give it a try based on another YouTuber's opinion that I watched the other day. But up until this point, I've been recording my YouTube videos with stabilisation turned on. If you want to mess around with motion blur and things like that, having stabilisation turned off is what you want to be doing. The next setting would be your ISO. Now, we want this at a minimum 100 and a maximum 800. That's so if we go in a bit of a dark area, we want the ISO on the GoPro to bump it up as much as possible, just to get as much information in the video as possible. And similar to that, we've got the white balance. Want to leave that as auto, just leave it as standard. I'm not sure what the name is, but yeah, just leaving it as standard is fine. So for the colour setting, you want to leave that as natural. If you want to be colour grading, by all means put it in flat and record in flat colour mode. So the final two settings then, bitrate and sharpness. So for bitrate, you want to leave this as just the recommended, just the standard bitrate. If you want to be colour grading, again, bump this up to high, but with that you'll get incredibly high file sizes, or incredibly huge file sizes should I say, and it'll take up a hell of a lot of space really quick. So for just everyday riding, recommended is absolutely fine. For sharpness, well, leave this as medium. Medium is more than enough for what you need. If you bump that up to high, not only will your file sizes get larger again, but also the video will start looking a little bit grainy. But yeah, that is pretty much all the settings you need to get going on your GoPro. Now, all these settings will be transferable, as I've mentioned, from a GoPro to a DJI. It'll just be maybe named a little bit differently and laid out obviously different to my GoPro. And in case I haven't mentioned yet, I've got the GoPro Hero 11 Black. But yeah, all my equipment from my mic and D filters, the GoPro itself, everything I'll leave in the description. Just a final tip that I haven't mentioned yet also is, for your mic, you're going to be wanting a windshield as well. Now, a windshield is incredibly important, because if you just get a mic and slap it in your helmet with no windshield, you go out for that first ride and even hit 30 mile an hour, the wind noise, you might not realise it when you're recording, but it will be incredibly loud, and you probably won't even be able to hear yourself. So grab yourself a windshield. Again, you can get them off Amazon, and I'll leave it in the description below. But yeah, that is truly about it, I'm pretty sure. I hope I haven't forgot anything. I don't think I have, apart from that windshield. But yeah, thank you very much guys for watching. I hope I could help. If I did, let me know in the comments, and I will catch you guys in next week's video. Peace.